Billy Joe Rubideoux rebuilds on 4 diverse cooking knives. William Hovey Smith, 2017. I'm Hovey Smith, the owner of a new company, Hovey's Knives of China. And we went to China and we picked up some ancient designs of Chinese cutlery, and we are now remaking them in modern steels for today's chefs and cooks. We also have a Billy Joe Rubideoux line where we make knives from found steels and also rebuild stainless steel knives of modern manufacture.
This is Hovey Smith, the backyard sportsman, and also the owner of a new company, Hovey's Knives of China. And it's a rainy day in Georgia today and a good day to be in the knife shop, quite frankly. What we have to do today is to rebuild 4 kitchen knives of modern type and materials to more nearly fit the user. This is a steak knife or general purpose knife, either way. It has a fairly thick, good steel blade and is fairly robust. But we're going to rebuild it for another one of our GOWA, Georgia Outdoor Writers Association members, who is a larger guy than me and has a larger hand and wants a bigger grip. And we're also going to grind this blade again, which was originally serrated, but is now pretty well worn and worthless. This is an interesting little knife. This offset here is to allow the knuckles to clear the surface as you dice, but the blade shape is wrong. A small, delicate dicer, such as you would cut garlic with, does not need or want a serrated blade. As a matter of fact, a serrated blade is about worthless on a knife like this. So we're going to grind it straight and give this a good, sharp, straight edge for use for very fine dicing of garlic and such things, and also put a larger handle on it to more nearly fit its intended user, who is an average sized lady. This is a slicer. It's a medium weight blade here. It's not too fine, it's not too stiff, it's just about right. But this knife is just generally used and battered. It needs a new edge ground on it, and also the handles refinished. I'm not going to reshape them, but I will refinish them so that this will be a much more handsome and usable knife when I'm done with it. This knife is a robust knife. It's made in China, good materials, heavy construction. But the edge is the wrong shape. This edge needs to be flat across the bottom and sharpened. And so that is the work that we're going to do with this particular blade. So these are the tasks we're going to undertake with these 4 knives. The longest jobs are going to be to actually remove and replace the scales on the 2 knives I'm going to do that with. You can see the handle on this one has already bent over this way. This wood is just warped and it's of no use of anything. So I'm just going to use the saw here and cut most of this off so I don't have to worry with it on the grinder. I don't want to catch the steel here, but this will make short work of it. The grinding I'm going to do on this little thin blade is going to generate a tremendous amount of heat on this blade. So that's the reason for the gloves today. Usually I would hold with the fingers. Okay. Just with 2 passes of the grinder, I've taken all that off. Now the rest of this I'll shape on the belt sander. So now we can go to remove the scales on the second blade. The material used on this blade was an unusually dense synthetic material, and as you see, it was hollow cast and not glue bonded but just pinned. So now I have the pin sufficiently removed that I can just slip the scales off the knife. Okay, so that's pretty easily done. And now I have a decision point as to what to do with the blade. They left a unground edge here before they started the serration. And as deep as I'm going to make the grip, and as long, I don't really believe that's necessary to have it so long. So I'm going to reduce that by about half and then remove the serrations on the blade so I get a little easier grind. And I'm going to go ahead and do that with just a couple of passes here on the grinder. I now have a flat face here on the blade, so I can now really shape the blade on the flatbed sander. I've got the little blade carefully supported between these two blocks, and we'll see if I can just punch out these pins. One. There we go. Okay. I'm going to see if I can work this blade better in this flatbed sander initially. This blade is not straight. We're going to attempt to grind it straight and then shape the edge. And now I have an edge on this I can finish off on the knife making machine. We now have edges to grind on 4 quite different little blades. On here, we're going to continue our work and do this edge here so it is more nearly flat ground on this side and beveled on this. The same on this. This is going to be beveled both ways. And this long, thin blade, it's been somewhat sharpened from time to time, but it's so ill done it's hard to say what kind of bevel it had. I'm going to have to see how it feels and see what I can do with it before we decide exactly what kind of edge we're going to put on this one. This knife is a small blade, so it's sort of suitable for the remnant of our sanding belt here. So the blades work thus far. This is actually the better steel. The edge is holding up very, very well. It's not tending to feather when I sharpen. And this will be a good, strong, sharp edge. Now we start on this creature and see what we can do with it. Probably not going to take too much because of the thinness of the blade. So now we have the blade sharpened. Now this is the only one that's going to actually require buffing, just because of all the old scratches and stuff. So I'm going to go ahead and buff the blade before I start working on the handle material. We've made considerable progress at this stage. What we've done is we've taken the handle of the knife and we've reduced it to a rectangular shape. And we've also taken our chinaberry billet here and put it on the flatbed sander and made it more nearly rectilinear. In case you've never noticed, I'm using an auxiliary slide block here because I can't get the fence actually close enough to make these thin cuts I want for my scales. So this allows me to do that. Once more, we have a knife on the carving bench here, and this is going to actually be a quarter tang knife. The handle will ultimately extend out to here. A complaint about this knife was the handle originally was just too tiny, too small. Plus we're going to make it out of stronger material. So now we've got the pinholes in and we've got it outlined. So this is what the wood, so this is the amount of wood we're going to remove. We're here at the sanding cabinet again, and I've gone ahead and faced off the pins, at least taken the longer ends off them. And now I'm going to put them here in the sanding cabinet, and we're going to start shaping the grip on this knife. Now for this one, this is going to be for a large-handed guy, so it's going to be left full length here and sort of swell toward the back and reduce toward the front. So that's going to be the general shape. So it's going to be a very interesting knife when we get through with it. We're on the coarse belt sander with it now. As you can see, I've left the butt swelled and tapering toward the front. And we have our distinctive little finger rest right here. And this will be rounded and rounded up this way a bit to make it comfortable in the hand. So you can fit it either this way and it'll work well, or this way in a typical cutting position, and it'll feel good too. This knife feels live in the hand. You press it like this, you almost feel a pulse, as if you're compressing a living thing. Good knives are like that. As it turns out, our slicer has rosewood scales on it. Although it is a blondish rosewood, meaning not the best quality, but yeah, they were and are rosewood. So this is naturally oil rich. Consequently, it doesn't take polyurethane very well. It takes it all day to dry if I put a coat of polyurethane on this. But I probably will anyway, just to give it some added protection. We're going to sand it up and coat it and give it a good time to dry. But yeah, interestingly enough, when I put it on the belt sander, I got the very definite smell of soap. I mean, this thing had been soaked for so long, so many times in dishwater. Yeah, it was all in that wood. Now that is as much as I will do with a rough grit on the sander. We have basically shaped the handle. And we've gotten all the rough grinding marks off left by the stone. And now we'll go to a much finer grit and actually start working on the polish. But the basic shape of the knife and the handle is now formed. So far as this knife goes, we're just about there. But we're going to put a coat of polyurethane on this one and call it good. It's a serviceable knife. Yeah, far better off than it was, and it actually fits him. To reduce the amount of wood I have to remove by grinding, I'm going ahead and trimming. I've already trimmed the end. Now I'm going to take some off this top here. And these little pieces of wood are valuable. First off, they're already shaped, and they're very useful sometimes for inlays or spacers. So yeah, these go in a box and they're saved. Yeah, good wood is hard to come by, so you don't waste any of it. Not only does that save time, it also reduces the amount of ambient dust around in the shop. And now that we have the grip size considerably reduced, we can proceed to go into the cabinet grinder. Our little knife is proceeding apace. We've done the roughing, and you can see from the grinder how we have shaped the general profile. Larger here, thinner here, removed a lot of wood, but there's a lot of cut marks, etc., etc., etc. Now this is still as it should be. It's still too large for even my hand, which is good because I'm going to have to remove a lot of material yet to get some of these divots and cuts like this out of here. But that's coming, and there's sufficient room to do that. And this will be done very rapidly on this coarse belt sander. Our little knife is done. It's going to get a final finish by being dipped in polyurethane, steel wooled, and then waxed. But yeah, it made an elegant little knife from what was actually a piece of absolute trash. This is actually American chestnut from live trees that are at the monastery in Conyers, Georgia. And this is from a fallen limb. It was given to a friend of mine by the caretaker at the monastery, and he in turn gave it to me. So that's what American chestnut looks like. I do have enough of this wood to handle maybe 10, 15 knives. So if you have a knife that you want an American chestnut handle on, then we'll see what we can do about it. Now this knife, this rebuild, this Billy Joe Rubideoux rebuild, is not as finely finished as the knives we do for Hovey's Knives of China. It is made from picked up materials mostly, things bought inexpensively and repurposed, refinished, etc., etc. So the price of this knife is $80. I'm going to test this knife and see if we want to do a standard pattern of it or something like it for our Hovey's Knives of China line. And if we do, then that knife will probably be more like $160. On our next episode, we'll take the 4 knives we built today, plus Excalibur, this little interesting creature here, and our shortened handled sow belly slicer, and actually test them on some real live stuff. But now, this is Hovey Smith, reminding you to hunt what you eat and eat what you hunt. Be legal, be ethical, be safe, goodbye, God bless, and see you next time.
The best knives are made actually by those who use them. And I use my knives starting from gathering the game, which I describe in my outdoor books like extreme muzzleloading, backyard deer hunting, practical bow fishing, and crossbow hunting. This Billy Joe Rubideoux line of rebuilt knives allows me to custom make a knife for a chef using an existing blade that costs considerably less than a new knife made on my Hovey's Knives of China design. For more information on Hovey's Knives of China, you can go to my blog below. For more information on my books, blogs, and 625 videos, you can go to my website, www.hoveysmith.com. Good hunting and good eating from the outdoors. Goodbye and God bless.